Welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast hosted by Rhodey and Diz. The boys will share their tall tales of the one that got away, as well as some regular segments they know all you fishing tragics will enjoy.
G'day guys and welcome to episode 114 of All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast. It is great to be here with you once again, Rhodey. Even better now that we've cracked the top off a lovely Cooper's Lager. How are you, mate?
Supporting the locals here, Diz.
Yes.
Don't mind these ones, the nice light blue can.
Yeah, I do. These are my favourite beer at the moment. So, yes, very good. Very well played. Love that. Mate, we've got a huge episode. We've got Brett Mensforth on. It is going to be epic. We cannot wait to have a chat with him. We've had Brett's father, Shane, of course, the founder of SA Angler, and Brett's doing a stellar job taking SA Angler into its new era on the digital platform. We are going to have a great chat with him later on today. And we won't give away too much more of that conversation, Rhodey, so we should get stuck into our oranges and lemons. Get us underway with your orange.
Dizzy, my orange is I've been doing quite a bit of window shopping on the socials, Diz.
Ooh.
And you know what I mean by that? It means trawling through the Instagram stories, the reels these days of a big event that's happening over in America called ICAST.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've been following this, Diz.
I do get quite a few, like the algorithms figured me out on that one.
Yeah, and
it's flooding my feed.
iFish and the crew are over there. Paul,
yeah.
Jet and Christy are over there.
Yep.
And a few others, and they're making me jealous. There's some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of it does, it'll be there this year, it'll be in Australia next year.
Yeah, amazing.
So some cool stuff. Some of those, I think Jet had some of the Shimano rods, and they are spec looking things.
Oh, they certainly are. It's
they
amazing.
glisten, they shine, they're all beautiful looking.
Yep, it's amazing, some of that stuff. And, of course, AFTA's not too far around the corner, Rhodey.
Yeah, so the local stuff will be here. I think that's August, is it, Diz? Does that sound right?
Yeah, it is.
And there's heaps of new gear coming out for that too. I know Shimano's been plugging the new Vanford Diz.
Yes.
And that looks nice.
Oh, mate, does it ever.
We've got the previous version, which we love, and the new one just looks that bit better, a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
It's got all the gear on it, so we can't wait for AFTA to come around and to see all the local stuff. A lot of swim baits in the American one too, Diz. I reckon that's where we're heading.
Yeah, good call, Rhodey. So for anybody who's interested, AFTA is on the Gold Coast. The trade days are Thursday, August 15, Friday, August 16. The public day is Saturday, August 17. So if you happen to be on the Gold Coast, otherwise I'd say follow along quite closely on the socials there or thereabouts, because Shimano will be releasing all their newest range and it is going to have you drooling.
Certainly will, Diz. Now, what's your orange, mate?
Well, my orange, Rhodey, is actually just watching our own social channels light up since we've reintroduced the monthly photo comp. It's been great having people send in photos of their catches, what they've been doing, getting out and about, maybe some previous catches, those sorts of things. And if you're anything like me and haven't been able to get out fishing for a number of weeks, it's good to at least see that some people are out there enjoying it.
Yeah, Diz, it's been good to follow along at home, hasn't it?
It has. Rhodey, roll that into a lemon for us, mate.
Diz, look, this has been a couple of weeks in the making. I wrote this down the day after we released the last podcast. And what it is why does the news always drop straight after we release something? Seriously, I put the last episode out, and within 2 hours there was an announcement about the Southeast Snapper and an announcement about the O'Sullivan's Beach boat ramp, both of which we discussed on the last podcast.
Yeah.
And news always breaks just after we release the podcast. We can never quite nail the timing.
Yes, very frustrating. Very frustrating when you spend your days burying your head in the books, making sure we're across the latest and greatest news. But we'll cover the finer details of that later.
And
today.
no one did it this time. But every now and then you get some smart aleck chirper say, "Did you know this happened?" It was like, "Yeah, we did. We're annoyed
that we just couldn't.
We stuffed up the timing."
Yes, yeah, absolutely. All right, Rody. My lemon has been the weather, and not for the reasons that we usually do. The weather has probably been playing the game for those boaties who don't mind getting out when it's freezing cold and a little bit wet. There's been some good days where the wind hasn't been playing, but the weather has really been impeding my ability to do much in the yard, mate. I'm struggling.
Yeah, mate. I popped in your house actually the other day. You weren't there, but me and Lucy went and visited Ned and Shads, and it took me a couple of days to get the mud out of my shoes.
Yeah, there's mud.
Can you do something about that?
There is some mud. There's some serious mud. We've been trying to get some lawn down, I got the loam there, tried to spread around a bit of loam. The rain comes, washes some of it away. It's very frustrating, but won't be long and we'll be out there enjoying some luscious lawn as we go into the growing season in spring. Nice little oranges and lemons there, Rody.
Yeah, it is. Not bad at all.
Okay, give the listeners a merch update. We are selling tees.
Cheap T-shirts too.
Cheap tees. We've got some left. Follow along on the socials for the sizes and prices, but those prices are slashed, mate. They're a steal.
Yep, so we've done bargain T-shirts. Hit us up if you want one. We have two different slight varieties, Diz. Both have a big logo on the back. One has a slightly smaller logo on the front. One has a bigger logo on the front, Diz.
Yeah, very good.
If you're getting quick, you might still get your pick of the two options, but they are selling pretty quickly, Diz. We're doing $35 for the bigger logo, $30 for the small logo.
Good call. Like that.
And beanies still on offer too.
Beanies are still on offer, that's right. They will keep your noggins warm. They're a fantastic piece of gear. The photo comps, as I touched on in the oranges, have been really good. We've had plenty of photos coming through, so keep that up. We don't have a long weekend coming up sort of anytime soon, but I'm sure there's plenty of you out there still getting out and about doing as much fishing as you possibly can. So when you do manage to get onto them, or even if you're just out having a good family day or catching up with your mates, whatever, grab a photo, send it through to us. We love seeing it.
We certainly do, Diz, and we got another great prize pack with some Shimano backpack, a beanie and a cap.
Yeah, mate, they're so good. The backpacks are versatile.
And I just got the last one off in the post too, so well done to our June winner, and we're looking forward to getting on to July.
Absolutely. Rody, without us getting too much deeper into that monthly photo comp and merch update, let's get started on the news.
Rody and Diz have been searching far and wide to bring you the latest news across all fishing in the state, and we'll give you the rundown on what you need to know.
Rody, kick us off with the news that we just missed last time.
Yes, Diz, as I said, this broke just after we released the last episode, the 5th of July. This email hit my inbox from Purser, so it's saying that the snapper limits remain unchanged in the southeast fishery zone. So following recommendations by the Marine Scalefish Management Advisory Committee and SARDI, they had obviously some meetings and some discussions, have said that the total allowable catch for snapper in the southeast fishery zone has been reviewed and decided to remain unchanged. So for the period of the 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2025, so the coming financial year, the current figure will remain at 7,491 kilos, which equates to around 3,783 individual snapper. We're staying at a bag limit of 2, boat limit of 6. The size limit is still 38 centimetres. And we remind you that you do need to mandatory report your snapper via the SA Fishing app or the Fish Watch hotline, and that's how they keep track of how much is caught in that zone, Diz. And obviously, as everyone knows, no snapper fishing for the rest of the state.
Yes, very good, Rody. Fantastic coverage there, mate. I can't ask you any questions because you've answered them all.
I hit the nail on the head there, didn't I? Diz had some good resource in front of me, that one.
You did. Purser have released some snapper research, Rody. They've circulated an email. What can you tell us about that?
So this was another email too, Diz. So we talked about this in the past. They've put out sort of a It's called the Snapper Science Stakeholder Group. It's got a number of representatives, and they've put up some research on their website that you can access. And it's a bit of a program they've launched to see sort of what's going on in all things snapper diz. So it's something that I think will continue to grow over the coming years as we head towards hopefully a snapper update, but a snapper opening. But there's all the research about the stock and all these sort of things. You can read about the biology and the ecology, some of the information about how they estimate the biomass. It's got, a lot of different organisations contributing to it, including Recfish and a lot of others. It's got all the stuff about the recovery and the funding and the background and all the information you need to know, all about the management, the science and the stock. So that's where you head to. The PIRSA website has a bit of a snapper recovery hub with all the latest.
So worth a read is what you're saying?
Yeah, look, Diz, I think it's worth a read. It's got some good numbers there, some good figures, and good to know sort of what's being done about what we know is a big problem here.
Very good. And while we're on the subject of snapper, we don't like covering these sort of stories, Rhodey, but we must. There's been an illegal snapper catch.
There has, Diz. So fisheries officers recently identified a man on the Eyre Peninsula who, in addition to 6 illegally caught snapper, also had possession of a number of wrasse exceeding the daily size limit and undersized nanagai, Diz.
You've done really poorly there, mate, that bloke. Jeez.
And the man is alleged to have attempted to conceal the fish in his vessel to avoid detection. So the maximum penalty for taking snapper for these waters is $5,000 for a first offence, $10,000 for a second offence, and $20,000 for a third or subsequent offence. He might cop a little bit more because he crossed over into multiple species and all that as well. So that's disappointing, Diz. And for mine, I think everyone knows you can't catch snapper, so I would say $5,000 is probably on the light end.
Yeah, we covered this off a long time ago now, but there was obviously a fair bit of discussion a while ago that the fines for illegal catches hadn't gone up for a very substantial period of time. But I do tend to agree that when you've clearly in that case, it doesn't pass the pub test. It's obviously illegal to do. They've tried to conceal it. I feel like they should be throwing the book at that.
Exactly right. They should, Diz. What do we got next?
Okay, mate. We have covered the cod pods, but this one, my Ponga cod pod and clinic. So Recfish have been circling some information about this. You've been sort of dialing into the live feed as much as you possibly can to see what the cod are doing.
I've hooked it up to my TV. Lil just sits there and waits for the cod to come into the cod pod down at Happy Valley.
Lovely.
But they've also now deployed one at my Ponga. So I think that was this week. They did a kids clinic tying in with the Reeling In Junior Anglers program.
Yep.
And they also deployed the cod pod.
Yes.
At my Ponga, so we will eagerly await that one going online on the YouTube as well.
Can't wait. So then what are you going to do, split screen?
Might have to. Can you still do that on
the Happy Valley and the My Ponga feed? Or what
I assume you probably still can, but I'll have to do a bit of research into that one, Diz.
There's got to be a way. Okay, like we said to begin with, very disappointing that we couldn't cover this off in the last episode with the timing of the release, but the O'Sullivan's Beach boat ramp has been fixed. So this was what we covered about there being a stake, a metal
like some
rod,
steel rod coming out the side and damaging boats.
Yes. So they've gone ahead, they've fixed that. I'm sure there's some insurance claims in for some damaged boats. But good to see it fixed nonetheless.
It is, Diz, and this one was on the Marine Safety SA Facebook page, and that's actually quite a good one to follow for all, it's got some information about rules and regulations, and it's just a bit of a good way of keeping in the loop on these things, Diz, and they posted on July 5th, which was the same as the last one, and that was the day we posted the last episode.
Always.
So they've said it's all done. If I was launching at O'Sullivan's Beach boat ramp, I'd still be a little bit cautious.
Yeah.
If a couple of rods have come loose, who's to say some more won't?
Yes, that's right.
But at this point, it's all been repaired.
Yeah, good call. Love that, Rhodey. All right, next story is coming out of Coffin Bay. So there's been some spider crabs. This one is a good news story. I am a real fan of Deadliest Catch. I'm not suggesting that they catch spider crabs over there, but it sort of just got me thinking about rerunning some old episodes of Deadliest Catch.
Yeah, so Diz, I don't know if you saw the footage, but it was amazing. The sea of those orange spider crabs swarmed the waters of Kelledy Bay, just near Coffin Bay.
Amazing.
On the Eyre Peninsula, and it was some really cool footage from drones and the likes. So we've got a quote here from Coffin Bay oyster farmer Lester Marshall. Has said, we get these aggregations of spider crabs every so often that come into Coffin Bay, but I've never had this big in my oyster farm. It was quite amazing. And It certainly was, Diz.
Yeah.
And they're normally a deep sea creature, I think. But
yeah,
I don't know whether they come in. I think they might come in when they're molting their shells. Does that sound right? I think they come into the shallow water.
They come in the shallow water, drop their shells.
While they're soft.
Yeah.
When you see them occasionally.
Yeah, okay. And then they head back out to deeper water.
I think so, yeah. So they come in those big groups, and that's why they're together, because they're sort of seeking safety in numbers.
On top of each other. There's enormous amounts. It's amazing, isn't it?
Safety in numbers when they're soft, I believe.
Yep, there you go. Fair enough. Very good. All right, Brody. Now, give the listeners out there a King Penguin update. We have covered this story too. It's a bit more. It is an update, of course, about some more information relating to these sightings. But this one was down at Mount Gambier, was it?
This one popped up in a few different locations. I'm just trying to look back when we first covered this, but it was on the Coorong, and then it ended up over on the Eyre Peninsula, I believe. And it's now been. It's had it was a really nice story. Would that have been a year ago?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
So it was a king penguin, and it initially appeared on the coast 6,000 kilometres away from its Antarctic home, first on the Coorong, and then, as I said, it headed over to the Eyre Peninsula. But as I said, Diz, it's had a sad ending, and the body was found and taken by, I think it was the museum, the South Australian Museum, for some investigation, and they've said it's likely to have been attacked by a fox or a dog.
Oh dear, right.
So
that is a sad ending.
Yeah. So it is a bit of a sad ending, Diz. And it also, which I don't know if this is potentially to be expected in this day and age, the article also talks about there being quite a bit of plastic in its stomach. Or at least a few different bits of plastic, and whether that's now got to the point where that's expected.
It's probably an unfortunate
and they're
reality.
saying that's not what killed it. It was sort of attacked by a dog or a fox, likely by a dog or a fox, is what the SA Museum believe. But that was sort of a
bit of an additional part.
Yeah, an additional finding. So it was found by council employees at Lipson Cove near Tumby Bay, and it was actually found a short time after it was seen there in February. So it's been under investigation by the SA Museum from February until now, Diz.
Yeah, no, you're right, Rody. I don't think it is a surprise to anybody out there about the plastic findings in its stomach. We've heard from a absolute guru of the sea in Al McGlashan. He's covered that in his docu-series, if you like, about Fish Forever, I think it was, on Channel 9, and he did do a good few segments about how much he's noticed the increasing amount of rubbish in our oceans. So and a timely reminder to clean up after yourself.
It is, Diz. So it was first seen on January 15 in the Coorong. Then it was seen January 26th at Wreck Crossing, about 45 kilometres north of Kingston in the southeast. Days later, it was spotted at Port Neal on the Eyre Peninsula on February 7. And then, like I say, somewhere in February, it was found dead at Lipson Cove.
R.I.P. Well, thank you for the update, Rody. Shame about the ending, but good to cover that story, that's for sure. That wraps up the news segment, Rody. Let us move on to the tackle item of the week.
Now it's time for Rody and Diz to really show you what it means to have all the gear with a lot of idea as they review a tackle item of the week.
Righto, Rody, if you're anything like me, mate, you need a very large-sized tackle bag to fit all the kit that you just continue to accumulate over the years, from the window shopping like you mentioned earlier, the trips to the tackle shop, and no better piece of gear than Shimano's latest large tackle bag. It is excellent. They continue to push the boundaries. It it's a really good looking piece of tackle.
It is. So the large tackle bag from Shimano, recommended retail price $169.
Yes.
It comes with some water resistant material. I don't know how this works, but it's called heavy duty 420D 600 by 300 water resistant material. It comes in two sizes, a medium or a large. We've got ourselves the large. You pack them full of those tackle trays, which is great.
Yeah.
Because you have, your tuna tackle, your whiting, your rigs, your this, your that, your river gear.
Yeah.
You take what you need, which is great. Gone are the days where you lug around everything that opens and shuts.
Yeah, we've found that, haven't we? Just filling up those trays with your different types of gear that you need for the different types of fishing that you might like doing. And when you're going to target a particular thing, you load them up with the trays that you're after, and away you go.
Yeah, so you're heading offshore. You put in your heavier terminal tackle. You put in your lures, your kingfish jigs in a roll. Then you put your tuna lures. Then you might go squidding in the afternoon, so you put your squid case.
Yeah, perfect.
Then the next day you go on whiting fishing, so you change it up.
Yep. Love that. That's exactly what you do. And it's a really good quality piece of kit. So down the bottom is the hard sort of shell casing to protect it. Good for when you're throwing it in and out of the boat, up the front, down the back, that sort of thing. These the straps, the shoulder straps that they've got have just become more and more comfortable over the years, to make sure that you can get down to the beach or some of those longer walks that you might be doing with your tackle bag that bit more comfortable. The zips are fantastic, mate. They're not going to let you down. No chance.
They're not, Diz. And I also love it's got like 3 external pockets and then a zip on the inside, so you can put your pliers, your knife, whatever else. You can save one for your phones and wallets, all that sort of stuff, Diz.
You can tell that a fisho's designed it, can't you?
It is. It's well designed. And we should really mention how this came about, Diz. We both had a tackle bag, and you just over time had less and less stuff in your tackle bag and stopped tying rigs altogether, and pretty much just started like you'd bring yours just for looks and you'd take everything out of my tackle bag. And eventually we end up having all our tuna lures together and then all our jigs together. And then I said, look, mate, why don't we just get a tackle bag together?
Yeah.
Because realistically, your bag's doing nothing.
Fair enough.
So let's just get one good one for the boat.
Yeah, he did. It was a bit of a for looks tackle bag. I'd look like I rocked up to be fishing and I was going to bring my own gear, but deep down it was all sort of communal in the end.
So it was, Diz. So we've gone out and we've got the bee's knees of tackle bags, and it is going to do us proud.
It is the best of the best. Shimano gear always ready. Let's wrap that little tackle segment up. Encourage everyone to get out there and upgrade your tackle bag if you haven't already. But we've got a fantastic guest now, and I'm really looking forward to this one. So without us going any further, let's get Brett on the line.
Now it's time to get our guest on the line. We'll ask them the all-important 5 questions, then chat all things fishing in SA.
Righto, Rody, we are very lucky to be joined now by Brett Mensforth, the man behind SA Angler, now doing a fantastic job, and it is great to have you on the show, Brett. Thanks for joining us.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on, Brett. We've had your dad, Shane, so we're going to compare answers with how you go on these 5 questions, mate. So the pressure's on. We're going to start off by tell us about your best fish.
There's a few that came to mind, but one in particular, probably because they're really difficult to pinpoint, but the dewies, particularly local ones like metro ones. So probably, my most memorable fish was a Port River mulloway back in, 2008, I think, so about 16 years ago. And it was my first legal mulloway. Nighttime fishing with liveys. Hadn't really tried too much. It was a bit of a boring night, getting smashed by mosquitoes. And from memory, the crows were getting flogged by us, and I was listening to that on the radio. And the old man was at the footy. And, it was a bit of a weird night, actually. But, had a live trout, live gar out, just sitting around, had a couple of beers. And the rod, like my rod, I had a mate with me. He had live gar on, I had the live trout, and my rod just sort of bent over. Didn't do anything, spectacular. Sort of reminded me of something, when you'd hook a smoothie or something, or a stingray or something like that. So I grabbed the rod and struck a bit and peeled a bit of line and I had pretty heavy tackle. I was using like 50-pound braid. It wasn't really there to muck around, and it was a bit of a tussle. Didn't go for too long, and then up popped a really big Dewey, which was I was really stoked with, and first legal mulloway, and I didn't measure it, but we weighed it because I took it home. I was pretty chuffed, and I don't mind eating mulloway, on the odd occasion, and up until that date, I hadn't really eaten anything.
Yeah.
But it was 29.5 kilos, so just under 30 kilo, and that was the first legal one. So that's the most memorable one out of all of the fishing, I think, because they're so difficult to target, and not so much target, but they're so difficult to land or to get a bite from, really, particularly the big ones, and especially metro nowadays. I know it was a bit different back in the older days, but times have changed a little bit. So that was a real memorable one. I've been back heaps of times since, and I've caught a few on plastics, and some good ones, which has been nice. But I've never got another one on a livey. And I don't really get to spend that much more time or that much time there nowadays with the kids and work. So back then it was more about fishing than anything else.
Mate, how good is that?
That's definitely the most memorable one.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just when everything was going against you on the night and your luck turns and you've landed a big Dewey. How good's
Pros
that?
were getting flogged, and then I didn't give a rat's ass about them.
It's funny the things you vividly remember, the footy scores and things like that when you sit around waiting for the fish to bite, isn't it?
Yeah, and other than the fish, times really haven't changed. The pros are still getting flogged. Which is a bit of a sign.
Now, Brett, tell us your favourite thing about fishing, mate.
Well, I guess there's heaps of things that come to mind, but probably just actually, getting away and not so much the fish themselves, but, the places it takes you. Some of the places I've been to are like peaceful sort of fishing, quiet fishing. I love land-based fishing. So, I really enjoy getting away and, just having some peace and quiet and going for a wander, and I often look for shells and things like that while I'm cruising along. If I see some nice birds, try and take photos. So that's what I most enjoy most about fishing. The travel aspect of it, and just being out in the outdoors and seeing things different to the city or different to work, and being able to relax at the same time.
Beautiful. That's exactly right. It's not always about what you catch; it's about what you do along the way. Now, sorry.
No, you're right. Go.
Our next question, we may already know the answer to this one, Brett, knowing little bit about your family, but tell us about your first fishing memory or what got you into it.
All right. First fishing memory. So I know my old man told me he's put a rod in my hand when I was younger and got me a cast and whatever else happened. But proper memory is from Port Lincoln, which is probably no surprise, but we used to travel there a lot as a family. And I reckon I was about 6 or 7, and we used to stay in a friend of Dad's called Rolf Sabaski, who's he's pretty well known in the shark sort of fishing side of things. We used to stay at his place on the marina, which was it was spectacular. And at the entrance to the marina in Port Lincoln, it's still there. There was a long finger pontoon that it wasn't quite as long as it is nowadays, but we used to be able to go down there. Me and my brother would go down there, and we'd forever be asking Dad for burley, just for burley. Wouldn't be taking anything else, just burley. And we'd go down there and just throw bits of pilchards and things like that in, and we'd crush up mussels that were on the side of the pontoons and pylons and that. And there was always these big fish sort of cruising in and eating whatever we chucked in. We didn't really know what they were. I think my brother had a bit of an idea, but anyway, told the old boy, and he's like, all right, I'll set you up a little rod. It was just a basic sort of rod, like an older style ugly stick, something like that, set up for basically for whiting. Me and my brother went back down there, and we basically hooked about, I don't know, we must have 15 or 20 odd of these fish, and just kept getting smoked. We never landed one of them. And I mean, we were obviously pretty young and didn't really know what we were doing, but we could tie hooks back on, and we were just getting busted off all the time. Anyway, the old boy came down with us, after we sort of told him that, we had no luck. And he sorted out a little bit of heavier gear and went back down there and managed to land one of the fish that, was in the schools that were busting us off. And they were silver trevally, and they were all about 4 to 6 kilos. So they were like proper, really big silver trevally, and there was stacks of them. And that's really where it started. I was like, wow, these fish are so strong. And, I was a little kid and these fish were, seemed enormous to me. But that's where it all really started. And then, the bug sort of kicked in, and it was, difficult for the old lady because it was just, we were forever hassling them for bait, rods, fishing line, hooks, burley, everything. And it came to the point where, out the front of the place we were staying, which was on the marina, we'd set up a heavy setup just to catch stingrays. And, that's where we cut our teeth, just stingray after stingray. And, some of them we'd be fighting for, like me and my brother would share it, we'd be fighting them for an hour. They'll mammoth things, but now I sit there and cringe, whenever a stingray comes up, I'm like, ooh.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. But that's where it all started. And I guess, I probably didn't have that much of a choice having Dad as my dad.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, it was probably in my blood, and yeah, that was the time that sort of kicked it off.
How good. Fantastic. And geez, I think that'd be a fair few jealous people out there being able to go and say that your main holiday is out down at Port Lincoln at Rolf's place. That's pretty impressive. So very good, mate. Yeah, very good.
Really lucky.
Yeah. Now tell us, Brett, your favourite sort of fishing and why.
Favourite fishing, definitely land-based. I can go out and boats and things like that, and I enjoy my time. Doesn't matter what I'm catching, but land-based, there's something that really draws me there, and I think it's it's almost like hunting. You've really got to, particularly flathead, you've really got to, be a bit quiet and a bit stealthy about what you're doing. You've got to pay attention to a lot of things, tides and seaweed and rocks and sand and all that sort of stuff. And that's definitely what gets me, that's what drives me the most, the basically trying to achieve something that is not easy. I really don't enjoy easy fishing if there's such a thing. I'm not that I don't enjoy it, but I really like the challenge. I'm happy to go out, spend 12 hours walking for one flathead. The amount that you learn in the times that you're not fishing, I think, are far better than the times that you are catching. That's definitely land-based fishing, particularly for flathead. That's probably the most rewarding sort of fishing that I get to do.
Beautiful, Brett. Very good. Now, the last one of our questions, you must have plenty of stories from over the years. Tell us about one funny fishing story or the one that got away.
All right. Well, there's a few that got away. Well, there's heaps that got away, actually. But a funny one for me now that I look back on it, not funny at the time for my old boy, but and there's been heaps of these. There's been plenty of these. He's pretty clumsy. We used to
this
fish,
is what we're here for.
We used to fish for bream quite a lot, particularly like when I was younger. Dad always used to take us down to West Lakes or into the port or out of harbour. And anyway, this day we thought, we'll go out to the. I don't even know what you'd actually call it, but it's like it's where the inlet is for West Lakes, I guess, like where the pipes are. It's out off Tennyson, Grange.
Oh yeah.
Like a beacon out there with a big steel cage around it. Anyway, the bream around there, like particularly back then, were like they were monsters. Like all of them were 40 centimetres and up, and they were really tricky to land because as soon as you hooked them, they'd dart straight underneath, and you'd lose more than you caught. This particular day, it was really calm, but the fish were right against this cage. So casting from the boat back there was. Basically, if you cast in and hooked up, you lost it within 5 seconds. So Dad thought it was a good idea that we pull the boat up to the beacon and we climb up and we fish off of that straight down. So, I was only young, but I was like, yeah, no worries. So I hopped up. Anyway, fishing for about 5 or 10 minutes, and we'd actually caught a couple of bream and landed them. They didn't dart straight back in. We probably got a little bit lucky, but I remember fishing on the opposite side of my dad, and I heard my dad never swore. Like very rarely, he won't actually swear unless he's, recalling something that someone said, and even then he doesn't like saying it. But I heard him say bastard, and I was like, gee, what's going on here? Something serious has happened, because he would never say that. I turned around, he was still at his rod in the hand, he's still looking down, and I thought, maybe he's lost a fish, and I said, what happened? And he stepped his left foot to the side, so that he turned towards me, stepped his left foot to the side, and along this beacon they've got, you remember the spikes that you have at Wendy's hot dog where they put the sausage bun on?
Yeah.
So there's all of these all the way around this, clearly to stop people from sitting on it, and probably to stop shags, but the shags didn't care. I think it was more so to stop people from climbing up there. Anyway, they're rusty, black, golden colour with shag shit all over them. And Dad has managed, with his thongs on, to put one straight through the middle of his foot. So his foot was on the base, and this spike sticking, 5 inches out the top. And I nearly passed out on the top of the beacon. It was pretty gruesome, and wasn't too sure what to do really.
How old were you at the time? Did you say?
I was probably 12.
Yeah, okay.
About 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the boat we had was like a 6.8 metre Galant, so it was a big fiberglass boat.
Yeah.
And I'd driven boats, but it was only ever sitting next to Dad just steering. So anyway, I climbed down and I said to Dad, "What are you going to do?" And he goes, "Well, I've got to lift my foot off first." So he lifted it. He just, and it wasn't even fast. He slowly lifted his foot off at this spike, and there was copious amounts of blood going everywhere. His thong was still on. He managed to climb down, hop back into the boat. It was a bit of it was a bit like a monkey on hot coals. And he got into the boat. We wrapped a couple of towels around his foot. I remember him starting the boat up, and he said, "Look, we've got to drive back to the ramp pretty quickly," because there was blood everywhere. This particular boat had scuppers, so we were able to drain most of it out, but there was a fair bit in the bottom of the boat. And I remember getting back to the boat ramp. It was all very vague from the time we left to the time that we got back to the boat ramp. But he was in the ambulance on the way to hospital, and he had a bit of a drama with his foot after that. But it was only about a month later we got a jet ski. He recovered well, but he was still all bandaged up. We got a twin-seater jet ski, I remember, and we're launching it at Largs off the beach. And I said to Dad, "Look, me and my brother will pull it off. You just stay back, because his foot's all bandaged up." And he goes, "No, I'll be all right." He yanked the back of the jet ski, and the jet ski fell straight onto his foot and opened it up again.
Oh no!
Hopefully he had his tetanus up to date with all that rust and shag poo.
Yeah.
Dad's had tetanus shots every year, I reckon.
Yeah.
So he was straight back to the hospital getting that one fixed up.
Oh, very good.
So,
well, that's a good one, Brett. We're happy with that, and we're always always happy to stitch up your mate or your brother or your dad or whoever it is. We're all about that.
Yeah. No, he'll cringe when he hears those.
No, all good. Take the opportunity while you can.
Yeah, that's all right.
That was the 5 questions that we ask all of our guests. Now we're going to get into a bit more of the specifics. SA Angler, you've been a big part of the magazine for a long time. We're going to talk more about that. You've recently gone digital, and I'm having a look here in the most recent edition. You had, it says 22,000 readers up until the end of May, and previously you had 4,000 when it was the last paper copy. So it's been a success by the sounds.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we printed 4,000 copies. We were digital prior as well, but we didn't push it because obviously you want to sell your paper copies, the ones that cost you a fair bit to produce. We were sending out about 4,000. There was a pretty steady decline, like a natural decline across the board, really, with printed publications. News agents have now become gift stores and lottery hubs. It was, the writing was, it was on the wall for a little while. I actually wish I pulled the trigger a little bit earlier than I did. But definitely going digital has, improved our readership enormously, and definitely helps, those who read it as well as those who support and advertise within our magazine. And there's quite a few of those, and there's most of those guys are really loyal. So it's been good to be able to, reverse the trend and fire it back up, which is, it's always pleasing from a business point of view. And yeah, so it's, Dad was very reluctant, but he's of that age where it's, that whole digital side is a little bit of a, it's a bit creepy to the older people. They don't really trust it or understand it that well, and that's all understandable. It's difficult taking on new technologies and and looking at things on an iPad or an iPhone or a computer as opposed to sitting on the toilet having a read of your mag. So, but no, it's been a really good jump, one that we're really pleased with and really happy.
Well, that's the best thing about the new magazine. It's in your pocket whenever you're on the toilet, wherever you are.
Yeah, well, it is, and it's we did when we initially broadcast that it was going digital. We expected to get a bit of feedback, particularly from the older gen, and we did receive a little bit. Some of that was negative, but it wasn't. There was no rudeness or anything in it. It was more so they were apprehensive and unsure. So I spent a bit of time talking to long-time subscribers and showing them where and how to access it, and that that it was going to be relatively easy, and we decided to knock the cost out of the magazine while it's digital for the first 12 months. So we made it free for everyone. I know cost of living is a bit of a drama, and I just thought, well, look, we'll take a bit of a bite and just get it out there as much as we can and get people comfortable with it. And yeah, it's been a really good success. So
fantastic, Brett, mate. It is brilliant. I think it is one of those things. Unfortunately, it's a sign of the times where these things are moving, because I can't remember a time where I hadn't had an SA Angler magazine sitting on a coffee table or at mum and dad's shack or something like that. So we're going to make sure we hold on to them. I think they're going to be very valuable one day. But it's great to see you taking the magazine into its next era, I suppose. Now tell us, Brett, you've been working. How long has it been that you've kind of been really driving SA Angler? Obviously, with your dad and that sort of thing.
Yep.
When did that sort of transition happen?
I started with Dad, helping him out. It was about 19 years ago. We used to use a company called Lane Print, and one of the graphic designers there used to do all of the layout and everything. And when I finished school back in 2000, I wanted to be a graphic designer.
Oh, cool.
I went and got a full-time job as a graphic designer, and about 3 months later learned that I hated sitting at a desk behind a computer. So I didn't mind doing it at home. I was always mucking around with stuff on the computer at home, but really didn't like doing it behind the desk, Monday to Friday. So I sort of kicked that out and went and got a job outside. But, I was talking to Dad, obviously a long time ago, but I was like, look, I can probably help out and do some of the layout. And anyway, it turned out that the fella there, whose name was Robert Klomp, he resigned to become a security guard. He also got sick of being behind a computer. And yeah, I just said to Dad, I said, look, I'll give you a hand, see how we go. And just sort of naturally grew from there. And then Dad, he retired a few years back. And I was always going to continue the mag, with his help as well. And he still helps me enormously. He says he's retired, but he's probably not really.
And
as much as he'd like to be.
I notice he still writes the editor's little section at the start. Brett, are you going to bump him off that soon, or?
Well, when I think he really enjoys writing. That's his passion. So I've been reluctant to do that, and he writes so well, and he's got a lot of people that follow him, and so I'm really reluctant to do that. I mean, at some point he's probably going to say, "Look, I've had enough," and when that time comes, I'll jump in the gear. But I don't see that happening for at least a few years at this stage. And like I said, he's all over everything, and because he is basically retired now, he's got a lot more time to chat to a lot of people. He gets out in the boat crabbing and squidding a lot.
Yeah.
So he's really he's back to his grassroots, and I think that's a good thing particularly for the editorial. I think it's handy to have that real grassroots sort of stuff. And to be honest, I get pretty busy with a lot of other things. So, you know, it really does alleviate a bit for me. But I'll jump in there at some point.
No, I do like reading that bit from Shane because I think he's got a good grasp on what the community feels, and he gives you know, a bit of an opinion on the topics, the snapper ban, the fishing license, whatever it is. But he does sort of, you know, he has a good even judgment on things, I think. So it is a good part of the magazine. We do like reading that part.
Yep. For sure.
While we're on the Brett versus Shane sort of rivalry, I suppose you'd say, or the takeover, who's the better fisherman?
Oh, the old man.
Didn't even think twice then. That was your chance, Brett.
Always and forever. The only thing he needs help with nowadays is me tying his knots because he's lost his glasses.
I've got an old man who uses that as an excuse as well. I'm convinced he just is sick and tired of tying knots. He just wants us to do it these days. No, very good. Now, Brett, we do have to ask you, mate, anybody who follows along your social media page know that you do it exceptionally well, and you do a great job covering off all different sort of areas of social media. One I will touch on recently, mate. You've made us all extremely jealous. You've got out, you've got yourself a barrel. We're certainly going to not ask for any specific details, but tell us about it. You must be chuffed that you've got onto them.
Yeah, very chuffed. And, you know, from help from a couple of keen fish shows that I've known for a long time as well. So without their help, I wouldn't have been able to achieve what we've achieved in the last few weeks. I'll mention one name in particular, Aaron Komarami. He's got, you know, knowledge coming out of his backside, and I think he's taken a little bit of a back seat in fishing at the moment. But he gave me heaps of information, and I must be very thankful to him. But you know, basically, we spent a couple of weeks. I was over at Yorkes because my parents live over there now, and we decided to have a bit of a crack for the bigger fish out off Yorkes, the southern part of Yorke Peninsula. And, you know, I won't go into specifics on exactly where, but it's not hard to work it out. And, you know, if you've got the right sort of mindset and tackle and boat, then it's definitely achievable. But, yeah, there's been some pretty big tuna or barrels kicking around. There's lots of bait. The water's the right temperature. And, me and the old boy thought, let's give it a crack. I still hadn't landed a barrel up until a couple of weeks ago. I'd hooked a couple and been a bit unlucky. But this time, it proved a little bit different. And on one of the occasions, so it was only Thursday, a week ago, I think it was, me, my mate Ben and Dad decided to head out. The forecast was good. Thought we'd give it a red-hot crack. And tried for some sambos sort of mid-morning till about mid-afternoon, then came back in a bit closer to find a heap of birds and dolphins and that feeding on some bait fish, and tried a couple of the TSA fluids through them and managed to get a double hookup. One of the hookups was the rod was up on the top rocket launcher, which proved a bit of difficulty for my mate to get out. But I knocked my fish over in about I reckon it was about 15 minutes, just over 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And got it both sides. And I wasn't keen to keep it. I'm a big one on karma, trying to generate some good luck. But the old man's a little bit old school, and he goes, nah, we're having sashimi tonight. So he quickly grabbed the gaff, sunk the gaff in. That was my first big fish, which was, we didn't weigh it. We measured it like a flat measure, so not over the belly, and it was 172 to the fork. So it was probably between 100 and 110 kilos, I think.
Wow.
And I was chuffed, and my mate ended up getting his rod out of the rod hole. There was only about 200 metres of line left on his reel at this point. And we chased that fish down, and unfortunately that fish probably would have only been a minute away from landing it, carked it. Just must have had a heart attack. We weren't sure. We actually thought it had been eaten by a shark or bitten. And just came up, head straight out of the water, and it was dead as it gets. So that was unfortunate, but made for an interesting ride back with two fish over 100 kilos sitting at the back of the boat, and there was several hours of processing after that, but plenty of full bellies as well, and we got plenty of families and friends that were really appreciative of the fresh fish. So that went all to the right people. And then a couple of days later, me and the old boy thought, let's duck out again, see how we can go. And this time, Dad wanted to get on the one because he hadn't landed a big fish in his boat yet. So, we shot out again in the morning, and I think it was around 10 o'clock in the morning, and found a heap of dolphins and birds, and there was lots of bait on the sounder, and then a humpback whale came up beside us, and it was about 5 seconds after that one of the rods took off. The other rod hit as well, but didn't hook up, thankfully, because it was only me and the old boy on the boat. And yeah, that fight was only about 20 minutes as well, because the old boy got stuck into it, and got that one to the side of the boat, and Dad decided, much to some people's, disapproval, decided to keep that one. I think it's definitely that older sort of mentality. He's slowly changing, but he wanted to keep that one. I think it was a pretty special moment for the both of us, but particularly for him. He's nearly 70 years old. He turned 70 in 6 months' time, so he's nearly 70. We got it home. And that was 135 kilos, so it was bigger than mine. He was pretty happy with that.
Wow. So you've had plenty of fish to get through. I'd hate to think how many hours it took you to cut it all up and vacuum seal it and do all that.
My good mate Ben, who lives over on Yorks as well, bit of a gun with the knife, so actually didn't take that long.
Okay.
And it made it a bit easier to get. He runs a landscaping business, so he had a like an excavator, so we lifted it out of the boat with that. It was all really well sorted, actually.
How good's that?
But no, it's been definitely a good couple of weeks on the fishing front, that's for sure.
Very good. Well, it's great to see these barrels, Yorke Peninsula, down the southeast, the Eyre Peninsula. It's been really good for fishing in this state, which is obviously going to be great for your magazine. I just wanted to touch quickly on what do you think about fishing in South Australia? There's a lot going on. The snapper ban's obviously been a big thing. The fishing licence has been a lot of discussion, but they've sort of been, I suppose, negatives that people have had, and now the barrels are going really well. So what do you think about the fishing industry as a whole?
Yeah, look, I think the wreck fishing industry is going really well, and it's heading in a good direction. Where it'll be in 5 to 10 years, I'm not too sure. In terms of sustainability and different changes to licensing or like you said, the snapper ban when that'll change. But it's definitely in pretty good shape. I mean, we've got the best whiting fishing in the country. Might not have the biggest ones, but we've definitely got the best whiting fishing. Our snapper are out there. I mean, there's no shortage of those guys around, which is good to see. The big tuna coming through, that's a huge thing. Both for not just for magazines and things like that, but particularly for fishing tackle shops and all of the accommodation places and restaurants and pubs and things like that around the state. So there's and the charter guys, the snapper was a real kick in the guts for those, the tuna and that sort of real resurgence of the big fish has definitely been a bit of a lifeline, and I know some of the guys rely on them heavily, and it's really good to see that a lot of people are being able to get out and catch a fish of a lifetime, because it's not too common that you'll get a crack at the bigger tuna, particularly in the older days. But it's doing really well at the moment. So I think the fishing in general in South Australia is really strong. Could it be stronger? Yep, of course. But it could also be a lot worse if things didn't get changed. So I look forward to the next 5 or so years and seeing how things progress. And look, personally, I'd be all for a fishing license. I know there are a lot of people out there that are not, but having the funds managed correctly is the key. And hopefully one day that'll take place, and our fishing will get even better.
Fantastic, Brett. A brilliant summary, mate. Thank you very much. And we've been very generous with your time. Before we do let you go for this evening, we must, I think it's probably a rightful thank you to have us deliver the tripe that we do in the SA Angler articles. We proved our English teachers wrong, I think, Rhodey. It's fair to say. They never thought we'd make it, but we've made it to the big time. But it is, we actually get a lot of enjoyment, I think, after being away on a trip somewhere. We'll usually come and have a couple of beers and just slap away on the keyboard, and you can sort of reminisce about a fantastic trip there was. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, listeners and readers alike, that really do enjoy what you do, what you and your and your father have done with SA Angler, mate. So keep up the great work, and yes, thank you for having us two morons that genuinely have no idea right in your magazine regularly, mate. We love it.
It's been a pleasure, mate. And you might have to change your name at some point to All the Gear and Some Idea.
Yeah, that'll be on the horizon somewhere when we eventually get an idea.
Beautiful, Brett. Well, thanks a lot for your time. It's been really insightful and really good chat.
No worries. Thank you.
Dizzy, that was good to hear from the great man, Brett Mensforth. He is the man behind SA Angler, along with his dad, Shane, and he's been doing some serious work on the fish, particularly the barrels of late.
Yes, it was great to have a chat with him. He's a very busy person. He's got a lot on his plate. We also, obviously busy at work and that sort of thing. It took us a while to get Brett onto the podcast, but that was worth the wait, mate. And hearing his barrel story was epic.
And yeah, Diz, it's good to get a reasonably positive bit of feedback about our own writing again, Diz.
Yeah, you don't mind that, do you?
I'm just gonna put all this in the memory bank. And when do we have a school reunion? Maybe 20 years?
Yeah, were they about 15?
I don't know, but I'm going to line up those English teachers and really give them a bit of my mind when they gave me nothing.
Give them a piece of your mind. Good call. All right, Rody, let's let the listeners know where they're biting and get into the fishing report.
Rody and Diz have been out on the water to bring you the news about where they're biting. Now it's time for the fishing report.
Righto, Rody, we are well and truly into the winter whiting and they are firing. The social media platforms have been lighting up with your typical spots. I'm talking Port Hughes, Port Victoria, Stansbury. Metro has been fishing well also. Tracy Tito and the crew, they got on a good bag of tings. I think they might have even done all right on the squid too. So really good to see. Of course, you need to sometimes brave some cold weather, early starts. Whiting tend to fish really well after a big blow or some heavy seas. So when you see that you've got a little weather window after we might have had some wild weather the days or so before, churns up the bottom, gets the whiting absolutely firing, and away we go. One other thing I will say about the whiting is we've recently had the bloodworm run. I did see somebody post on one of the KI fishing pages, Roddy. I don't know whether you saw this, that they say basically his theory is for 3 days after the bloodworm run, they feed on nothing but bloodworms, and then they'll slowly start transitioning back to some of those usual baits, cockles, squid, that sort of thing. So it'd be interesting. Shout out. Maybe people might like to throw in their 2 cents about whether they agree or they have a different theory. We're all about theories.
Very interesting, that one, Diz. Very interesting. And I suppose the other theory that we probably have in the wintertime, and a lot of others do, that you just need to move into the shallow water.
Yeah, good call.
Often this time of year, we head out, we start off in 6 or 8 metres of water. You move in shallow, you think, oh, I'm pretty shallow. Then you move in again, and then you find them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Often it's shallower than what you think.
Yes, it is. It very often is shallower than what you think, that's for sure. Rody, the barrel's a bit quieter. We obviously had Brett on as a fantastic story, and they were doing well when he went out fishing. From the reports that we can gather, they've slowed down a little bit, both the southeast. I read in Shane's report for Port Lincoln that they're very widespread. Still a few big ones about, but a lot less schoolfish.
Certainly been a lot less talk about them this last week. We chatted with Brett probably a week ago, Diz, to record that.
Yeah.
And they were probably hotter at that point in time. But that's certainly not to say that they won't be back.
No, that's right.
And the weather can change quickly and all that sort of thing as well. So hopefully it's just a lull and they're back bigger and better than ever before too long.
Good stuff, Roddy. Love that. Now, we have always got a few regulars that come in down to the pharmacy in the great southern suburbs telling us about what fish they're catching. Brim in the Onkaparinga River, I'm hearing, is fishing very well.
Beautiful, Diz. What about the salmon trout down at Port Noarlunga? You'd be all over that one down at Christie's,
Yeah, well, I actually had a work colleague of mine who went down for a surf, and have you seen those foil boards?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I'd love to use one day.
His brother is a product engineer, and basically Foilboard approached him to design the battery casing. just the battery casing for the foil board. So they had the design, but they needed the particular type of waterproof battery casing. Anyway, he designed that. They gave him a foil board for the work that he did, and they went out and tried to fish him. And he said the beach was absolutely chock-a-block with people throwing baits, throwing lures, trying to catch salmon and that sort of thing.
So he couldn't get his foil board in? Too many rods?
No, he could get his foil board in, but he was foil boarding around the place.
Where was this again?
Down at Seaford.
Seaford, yeah, nice. And they were getting a few?
Well, you thought so. I mean, he's not much of a fisherman. So
nah, fair enough.
He's more of a foil boarder.
Good fishing report when we're talking to these people that don't know anything about fishing.
He said there was lots of people fishing.
Fair enough. All right, Diz, what about you're talking about salmon, the Australian Salmon Fishing Championship over at Elliston, the West Coast. I've been following them on Facebook, Diz. They do a mystery weight winner each week of the competition.
Yes.
And they also do a photo prize. I think that's every month, and that's, I think, the photo that gets the most likes on their page.
Good one.
And heaps of fish being caught by the looks.
Yes, yeah, they're fishing well. I think in the Eyre Peninsula Tackle World, the Shane's report, they were saying fish up to 3 kilos.
Good size. They pull hard, those bigger salmon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Good shout. Rody, the reservoirs.
Yeah, I've been seeing a few kids getting down there during their school holidays, which is great. We talked about the Maiponga event with the cod pod from Wreckfish. They had a clinic, but plenty of other kids just getting down, catching a cod, sitting down there, soaking some chicken or some worms.
Yeah, great fun.
So really good thing to do. I think one of the Pollies was down there, can't remember which one, filming a video.
Fair enough.
Should know, but I don't.
Always kissing babies, kissing.
I think that one might have been
cods.
Happy Valley. I can't remember, but some politician put up a video, maybe with their own kids or some form of kids or at a clinic. I think it was a Happy Valley. I could be making this up.
Fair enough. It's a likely story. We'll believe it. Okay, great little fishing report there, Rody. That just about wraps up today's episode. So, of course, you can find us on the socials. We're across Facebook and Instagram. We've got podcasts everywhere that you find a podcast. Spotify, Apple. Follow us on your socials. You can download it directly from Buzzsprout. Find it on Google. Just Google us.
Give us a couple of 5 stars too.
Just Google. That's all you need to do.
Give us a review.
If you're on Spotify, though, pick it up on Spotify.
It's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, super easy.
And the other thing to remind you all, get your photos in for our monthly photo competition. And if you have one of those questions that's just bugging you and you can't get the answer, send us through a voice message and we will reach out to our network of gurus and find you the answer.
Good call. Send in a voice memo. We love the engagement, guys. Thanks for listening. Episode 114 down. See you next time for 115.
Rody and Diz hope you enjoyed today's episode of All the Gear But No Idea. Keep up to date by liking and sharing us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Until next time, good luck fishing.